Welcome into college football now, and the world of college football could not get crazier following Lincoln Riley's decision to go to USC. So, who is going to replace Ed Orgeron at LSU? We got 10 candidates that could get the gig. And by the way, we should mention the rumors around Lincoln Riley to LSU were loud and rampant over the weekend, and then he pivots and goes to USC in a stunner of a move. Coach O finished his final season 6-6 with a win over Texas A&M. He will not coach in the bowl game, but now the question is, who will be the next coach at LSU? Because Lincoln Riley's off to USC. Billy Napier, who was in the mix, he took the Florida gig. So what does Scott Woodward, the athletic director at LSU, do next? Where does he turn to? Who is his top guy as LSU tries to figure this out? I mean, LSU did not anticipate getting, I don't know if outbid's the right word, but chosen by USC over themselves, right? Like, no one saw that coming, but that is what happened with Lincoln Riley going to Southern California. So now LSU has to move on to some other candidates. So who will be the LSU head coach next season? Let us know down in the comments. This will be the pinned comment on today's video, so if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, just scroll on down and let us know who will be the next head coach at LSU. All right, 10 candidates to replace Ed Orgeron. Number 10 and number 9 are just like the, hey, you better do your due diligence and make sure that they're crossed off the list. Dabo, Swinney, Jimbo Fisher. You start with Dabo. I'm not convinced you can get him, but if you want to open up the bank and say, hey, we'll give you $13, $14, $15 million a year, that at least gets him something to think about. Dabo probably knows that long-term the SEC is the most stable conference in college football. There was some chatter that Clemson may look to moving to the SEC at some point. That obviously has not happened at this point. Jimbo Fisher, he continues to deny interest in the LSU gig, but raise your price. See if you can get him to flip from Texas A&M to LSU. Obviously, if you can't, you move on to other candidates. I have them at 9 and 10 because I don't think it's super realistic, but these are the YOLO options, right? Like, you gotta take a swing. That's what LSU did with Lincoln Riley. You're already behind the 8 ball. You might as well do it a couple more times and just see. Just make sure. If you've already tried and they've said no, circle back, try one more time. Both these guys have some time off in terms of game preparation. They just are going to prepare for bowl games. Neither are in their conference championship games. Just check one more time on Dabo, Swinney, and Jimbo Fisher. And then if you get a firm no, then you move on to some other targets. So pick a coach. If you could have the option at both of these guys, who would you pick? Type DS for Dabo, Swinney. Type JF for Jimbo Fisher. I think both would be home run hires. I think both are excellent football coaches. Let us know down in the comments section. Number 8, Bill OBrien, OC at Bama. That offense has done some good things. I will say, though, Steve Sarkisian's offense was much better than Bill OBrien's is this year. I get it. They lost some receivers. Mac Jones was a senior, but Bryce Young is a special quarterback. Don't hire Bill OBrien. I will say that right now. He's on the list because, he's done some good things. He is a decent offensive mind, but if you go from Lincoln Riley as your dream to Bill OBrien, that's pretty underwhelming to me. I watched the entire Alabama-Auburn game. Alabama's offense, the play calling at times was incredibly suspect with a guy as talented as Bryce Young, so I would not make the move for Bill OBrien if I was LSU. I think he'll get a head coaching job again at some point, but it shouldn't be LSU. He should have to prove it at a smaller program first. Subscribe to us here at Chat Sports because this is the craziest college football coaching carousel I think we've ever seen. And if you want more videos around college football, subscribe because more subscribers we get, more videos we can do. Plus, the latest batch of college football playoff rankings come out tomorrow night. I will be live breaking those down with you guys. So hit that big red button, youtube.com/chatsportstv if you want more college football videos. At number 7, Luke Fickell, the head coach at Cincinnati. I think he would be a lot higher on this list if Cincinnati wasn't in the driver's seat to make the college football playoff. With this new early signing day on December 15th when it comes to recruiting, if Fickell and the Bearcats win this upcoming weekend against Houston and make the CFP, how do you get him? I mean, he's going to coach through the college football playoff, which is through New Year's Day and potentially another 10 days if Cincinnati were to make the national championship game. I don't see how he's going to leave Cincinnati high and dry when they finally make the college football playoff. And I don't see a scenario where LSU basically says, oh, yeah, you can coach them through the CFP and just come take the job afterwards. You can't miss that window of recruiting, and I don't think Fickell can navigate doing both. So I don't think he's that realistic unless Houston pulls off the upset and the Bearcats don't make the CFP. That would change things dramatically. So if you want Fickell, cheer for Houston this weekend. At number 6, a name you guys are familiar with, Dave Aranda, the head coach at Baylor. Again, I would have him higher on my list. He might even be my top target, and I think at one point he might have been LSU's top guy. But there's a report out there that Aranda's likely to stay at Baylor. He's got them in the Big 12 championship game this year, and both sides have been working on a contract extension. Now, could things change? Could LSU raise their price? Could LSU give him more control of certain things that maybe he would ask for in negotiations? Sure, like things can change quickly in college football. But again, if you're going to hire Aranda, you're going to have to wait at least a week because he would coach Baylor through the Big 12 championship game. At least I believe that would be the case. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think Aranda is as likely at this point as maybe he would have been a month ago. Now it is Cyber Monday, and we've got a ton of LSU hoodies on sale for up to 50% off, including this purple one. All the ones I'm showing you are on sale for at least 50% off. There's also other ones that aren't quite as much on sale, but you can browse at that link below, chatsports.com/LSU hoodies. This black one is a sweet look as well. And I wanted to include this quarter zip jacket coming up here because this thing is only $18. Usually it's $65. So this is 75% off. It's a hell of a deal. Chatsports.com/LSU hoodies. Click, browse, shop today. The holidays are here. Get some cheap but quality Christmas presents out of the way with your shopping. Chatsports.com/LSU hoodies. That link will be in the comments and in the description. Let's get into the top 5 here of LSU's coaching targets. At number 5, Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator at Carolina. The only question I have, because he was tremendous in 2019 as this team's, kind of offensive guru. He wasn't calling the plays, but he got a lot of the credit. Has Joe Brady lost his magic? Has he lost his touch? Because in 2 years in Carolina, that offense hasn't been great. Now, there's a lot of factors that come into play. Number one, the quarterbacks he's had to work with. Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, P.J. Walker, Cam Newton. Cam Newton is not the same player he was 5 years ago. Sam Darnold has never worked in the NFL. And Teddy Bridgewater, he's just a guy. Like, he's not special. So I think there's a lot of truth to saying, well, he hasn't had much to work with. Now, could he have schemed better? Certainly, but I would still have interest in Joe Brady if I was LSU, and if he hits, you could have your guy for the next 15 years. Now, bring one back, because both these guys were on staff when LSU won the national championship in 2019. Joe Brady as an offensive guy, Dave Aranda is the defensive coordinator. Who would you rather have? Type JB for Joe Brady, type DA for Dave Aranda. Aranda is more proven as a college head coach, but Joe Brady, obviously that innovative offensive mind. Get your votes in, JB for Brady or DA for Aranda. Number 4 here, Mario Cristobal, the head coach at Oregon. I think he's a name that could get more and more into the mix here as LSU kind of, loses out on some of these guys like they have over the past, couple of days here. Cristobal, kind of known as a hard ass, a culture builder at Oregon. I think he's made the Oregon Ducks a physical football team. Now, obviously, they had a bad loss to Utah a couple of weeks ago, but they'll get another crack at them this week in the Pac-12 championship game. I think what he's done to, kind of bring his style and his culture into Oregon in a new way, whereas, with Chip Kelly and the coach after him, which I'm drawing a blank on, kind of a finesse, spread it out type of offense. Now it's a physical type of, who is it? Not Taggart, the guy before him. I can't remember. The guy who coached Marcus Mariota in the national championship game. He's been long gone. No big deal. But Cristobal, I think, could bring a attitude and a physical style that would translate to the SEC, and he's been a great recruiter as well. Mark Helfrich is the guy I was missing out on, so there you go. All right, top 3. Matt Campbell, the head coach at Iowa State. Has his shine worn off a bit? Perhaps. They underachieved this year. They still went 7-5, and I can't emphasize this enough. When Matt Campbell took the Iowa State job, they were like barely at a higher notch than Kansas in the Big 12. I mean, barely. And Kansas is awful. Now they're getting a little better with their new head coach. But the point remains, he's made that program relevant. He beat Oregon and Cristobal in the Fiesta Bowl last year. So he's taken Iowa State to a Big 12 title game and to a New Year's Six game and won it. So I still think there's a lot to like about him. He rebuilt Iowa State, and I think that's very, very admirable. Now, what's the better job? Because no one expected Oklahoma to become open a couple of weeks ago, yet here we are. LSU, obviously a great job. It's tricky. I think 6 months ago would have easily been OU because they've been running their conference. But now with them going into the SEC, does that change? Because neither of these programs are the best program in the SEC. And if you can be the best program in your conference, that's very powerful. But with Alabama still there, that's difficult. If you think LSU's the better job, type LSU. If you think it's Oklahoma, type OU in the comments. Top two candidates here, Mark Stoops, the head coach at Kentucky. Listen, what he's done at Kentucky is really impressive. Similar to Campbell at Iowa State, whereas Kentucky didn't even care about football before Mark Stoops got that job, right? I mean, basketball school, they're fine if they win 5-6 games a year in football. Well, he's 9-3 this year. He's won 9-10 games a couple of times now. He's done a hell of a job at a program that didn't even invest in the football program just 10 years ago. So I think he's got that SEC, experience. I think he's done a good job of, maximizing what a program can do. Now, this is a different animal. It's a blue blood. You're expected to win 10 games a year at LSU, so that would be a different challenge, but I think he could be ready for the opportunity. And then at number one, and I think right now it's a clear number one, Lane Kiffin. Listen, the guy's had a wild career. He's kind of had two careers in one lifetime, and he's still not even 50 years old. One thing I know for sure is his offense would translate immediately. We saw that at Ole Miss. Within 2 years, he took Ole Miss to being a 10-win program with Matt Corral, who was off the radar a couple of years ago, and now he's going to be a first-round draft pick, potentially a Heisman finalist in New York City. I think his offense would translate immediately. LSU has some talented quarterbacks on their roster with Nussmeier and Max Johnson. They have some guys with some ability. I think he could get into the transfer portal as well. Another thing I think Lane would bring to the table, connecting with young adults, which is what these college kids are, 18 to 22-year-olds. I think Lane, in the modern NIL era, is a guy that can do that. I think he's much better suited as a college head coach now than, say, 10 years ago when he was bouncing around Tennessee, USC, and some other programs as well. So that's our list. 10 candidates to be the next LSU football coach. They're in a bit of a scramble mode, let's be honest, because they did not expect Lincoln Riley to choose USC. Who will be the next LSU head coach now that Ed Orgeron is gone? Let us know down in the comments. And if I forgot a name, go ahead and let me know on why that guy should be the coach as well. Be sure to subscribe. We'll have more videos around college football very soon.